The Iowa Hawkeye women getting another win on a weeknight, defeating the Toledo Rockets 94-57. I'm your host, Cory Brada, here from the Hawkeye of the Storm, as the Hawkeye women are now 3-0 in the regular season. And as was mentioned in the chat during our introduction, no trap game tonight. And I want to make very clear, I was not worried, but I did make mention of this Sunday. I said, hey, Toledo is a vintage trap game situation. Now, maybe Toledo ends up not being the type of team that really presents much of a trap game scenario from an opposition standpoint, from a talent standpoint. That could very well play out. We don't know that yet. They certainly didn't look very good tonight. Give Iowa credit for that. This is a Toledo team that just narrowly beat Marshall the other night. That's the only game they've played. In fact, they had a nice prep period before this one this evening. But Iowa left no doubt. It wasn't like they came into this game and started playing sluggish early, jumped on Toledo right away, went on a 28-2 run. 28-2 run. And no hangover from that win in Charlotte. Good coaching, right? That's what you have to attribute some of this to. Good leadership, right? When those things don't happen and you do succumb to a trap game type of scenario, kind of like the Oregon men did last night, although they found a way to win. They should have probably lost that game to Portland, came back and won. If you were following me on Twitter, you probably saw me tweet out about that. The Oregon men, they were down late to Portland, down double figures late. This is a Portland team that lost by 41 a few nights prior to Santa Barbara at home, on Portland's home court, lost by 41 to Santa Barbara. And they took Oregon to overtime, and the Ducks pulled away late. But that's what I'm talking about. Sometimes you can overlook an opponent, and in a situation like this, semi-young team, big win at Va Tech, that's a big win, regardless of what you want to say. I know some people have downplayed it. Well, Virginia Tech's not going to be very good this year in the ACC. Look what they lost. Do we really think the Iowa women are thinking about that? That's a big win. Going across the country, winning on a neutral site, first real game without Caitlin. Say what you want about the first two games they played, but Northern Illinois, Missouri Western, those really don't count as far as the big stage. And the women handled the test Sunday. So you wondered, would they bring it today, especially given the fact that in a few days, they're going to be traveling to Des Moines, one of the more difficult places to play on their entire schedule. That's not an exaggeration. I've been in the Knapp Center. That is one of the most difficult places to play on their schedule. And you're going back to Jan Jensen's alma mater. So there's so many storylines there. And the Hawkeyes came out today, completely rejected any possibility of this becoming a trap game and a hiccup on the schedule. So congratulations to Jan Jensen, that staff. The defense continues to look much improved. I don't want to read too far into the 57. They gave up 21 in the first half. That's great. We still need to see a bigger sample size before I'm going to come on the show and anoint this team as the next great defensive dynasty in the Big Ten, right? But it was discussed during the broadcast tonight how Sean Sullivan, assistant coach, who at one time was I believe a GA on the Iowa staff, has come back, and Jan Jensen brought him back in part to help with defense. And that's just good coaching awareness, understanding that they lost a lot of firepower, not just Caitlin Clark last year. They lost 3-point shooting from Gabby Marshall. They really lost just collective offensive talent from Kate Martin and somebody who could score in the mid-range and handle the ball in Molly Davis, not to mention Sharon Goodman. You needed somebody defensively, coaching, somebody on the staff to come in and be able to maybe stem the tide, so to speak, of the momentum that had so much trended toward the offensive side of the basketball. And that's what Lisa Bluter's calling card is. I don't think that's going to go away under Jan. But the point was made this evening during the Big Ten broadcast. There are going to be nights where you're not making shots. You need to be able to lean on your defense. That's what happened Sunday against Virginia Tech. Now, they were hitting their shots today, and I didn't think Toledo's defense was I don't know how you leave Taylor McCabe open, the number of times they did. Credit to Taylor McCabe. And I tweeted that out earlier. Hey, you're going to keep leaving Taylor open? Let it fly, folks. Let it fly. And I did make the statement the other night that I thought Taylor probably was going to go back to the bench. In fact, I said there's no way I'm putting Kylie back on the bench given how she's played to start the season. That's what Jan did. She put Taylor back on the bench. Sydney Falter started. But Taylor McCabe came in and ready to go. And I don't know what Toledo's game plan was on her. I don't know. I know it's a young team with a new staff, very similar to Virginia Tech, but man alive, read a scouting report. Taylor McCabe didn't make a single 3-point shot last year. I didn't know that until it was brought up during the broadcast. That's an amazing stat. Now, she made a 2 tonight, but man alive, scouting reports, folks. But nevertheless, the Hawkeyes winning 94-57. If you're new to our show, here's how you can interact, as we'll welcome Kyle Huseman of HawkeyeReport.com and On3 here in a few minutes. But if you're new to the show, you can call us a couple of different ways, one being via StreamYard. I threw the link up in the description, and it's in the live chat. Just click that link and sign in via Facebook, Google. None of your information, your private information, goes out to the viewer. It just gets you into our studio, and then you can either be on camera or be off camera, ask a question, comment, whatever the case may be. And you can also call by phone, 515-635-1601. That's 515-635-1601. And rumor on the street is that we are going to be getting our superstar, Kasheen Alexander, back for our show over the weekend. So stay tuned for more details on that. All right, let's go to our first caller of the night. We've got James here, bright and early. James, welcome back to the show.
How you doing?
Great. How are you?
Good. Obviously better when you win, and they made okay. So like I said, there's no real complaints about this one in a way of like, obviously there's a little nitpicky stuff you could pick on, but like, there's no real complaints about the way they played. I feel like they played well, and obviously that's what you expected them to do. And like I said, you're just glad they didn't fall in the trap. And they weren't. I didn't think they really were even close to falling in the trap. Right, once they went on that run, you kind of just knew it was kind of just smooth sailing from there a little bit. Right, just play your game. Don't get nobody hurt. That's all it's really about once you're in that point. Right.
Yeah, and get some of those young players in there and experiment. This is the type of game where you can maybe experiment. It's not like the men, James, because the men's schedule, they have other games on the schedule where you might be able to play around with lineups. But the women, man, it's a gauntlet. It is a gauntlet after this because they get at Drake, South Dakota game against Kansas. They get Wazoo. Then they go to Cancun for a couple of games. They get Tennessee, Iowa State, Northern Iowa. Those are their non-conference games. This was the last quote-unquote gimme, if you want to call it that, the last gimme of the season. So, yeah, I mean, I I know I saw the comment here on the live chat. I appreciate Askabum with the super chat. He says, I don't think Lucy or Hannah should have played the second half or at least been
You
sat
gotta
midway
get them
through.
reps though, especially with a game like Drake
Well,
coming up. You at least don't want them. The fourth quarter, they didn't need to be playing the fourth
let,
quarter, but
let me defend Jan for a second. So she got him
yeah,
out with about 5 minutes to go, which I think is sooner than Lisa Bluter would have gotten them
yeah, I
out.
can agree with you on that one.
But she got him out, and yeah, I mean, you're up 40. You're like, okay, let's get Hannah, let's get Lucy on the bench. You don't want anything happening late in the game. I applaud Jan Jensen for doing that with 5 minutes, but I also kind of understand why you keep them in the game because there were some lineups that they experimented with. You saw some younger players playing together. You saw Jada Jemfe get some extended run. Not that they're going to be playing her a lot during the season, but if injuries happen, which they already have with Aaliyah Guyton hurt, Kenise Johnson Etienne's not available, that's always a possibility. And Sydney Falter, this is her second game back, her first game back as a starter. So I understand the need for reps with everybody together. And this is your last chance to experiment with different lineups. I don't really have a problem with how Jan managed the lineups down the stretch because I think we're so used to seeing Lisa play Caitlin Clark until the final couple of minutes when they're up 40.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that, and I feel like in general, it was good to see him get taken out. I don't disagree with you. I feel like they definitely need to play in the fact of you definitely have a big game coming up, but like you said, you need to get those run and those repetitions, especially with Sid in that lineup too, because like you said, she hasn't played in so long. So you need those five playing together as much as they can too. You know, Lucy, Kylie, Sid, Hannah, and Addie, right? You need them all playing together just so you kind of get used to that rotation a little bit with them people in there and with the games comp you have. But like I said, it was a good win and obviously, it's a good day too because we kept all of our recruits in the signing day. It's always important, you know. Too, you never know until it's official, you know. Like with the getting players nowadays, you know how it is, right? You can have a player and
Yep,
then you don't. But I
absolutely.
mean,
No, it was good to see Addie Deal sign and Layla, and certainly Journey Houston seems like she's been committed forever. And recruiting has been obviously a positive result from not just Caitlin Clark, but that era. And I think Jan's taken advantage of that well, and they got a chance at a couple other really solid prospects into the coming classes in 26 and 27. Obviously, Madden Greenway being one of those, but yeah, it was nice to kind of see just kind of get that glimpse on a national. This is the first national broadcast, with the exception being the ESPN game. This is the first national broadcast for this new group, so it was kind of good to see the highlight of signing day, which was it kind of flies under the radar when you compare it to football signing day in December.
yeah, yeah, because it's like right at the beginning of the season, so I think you don't really think about it as much as like football. Football is more like at the end of the year, you
Right.
know, so it's a little weird for the timing wise of it. But it was good to see all them girls stay, and it was good to see us get to win. Obviously, like always, like you've been saying so far, the Nap Center is never an easy place to play, so
No, it is
it'll
not.
be a tough one. And obviously, that's one you need to get, especially with what you got coming up. You know, Kansas, Tennessee, like you said, so you need to get that one for sure and win in the Nap Center. But it'll be fun hopefully, and it's just keep this train moving, and you know it's good for these, like I said earlier, it's good for these young girls to get these playing time though, to play the Kansas, to play the Tennessees early in their career, you know, as a freshman, so they're not phased by the time they get older, you know, because like sometimes I feel like with Iowa men, like they don't play nobody, so when you get to Big Ten play, if you're a young guy playing, you're like, oh, I haven't really played anybody, so now I'm playing a harder competition, if that makes sense.
And I'll admit I haven't researched every one of those teams as it relates to what they lost in the offseason. I can tell you that last year Tennessee did make it to the second round of the NCAA tournament. They were a 6 seed as it relates to Drake. They took Iowa to overtime 2 years ago at the
They bring
Knapp
back
Center,
most people.
and they narrowly lost the other night to a really good Creighton team.
Yeah,
And
and they brought back like everybody,
they were also a
almost
tournament
injury.
team last year, and credit to
Yeah,
Drake, they're just good every year.
yeah, for
That
sure.
place, the Knapp Center, is a difficult place to play at every single year. Kansas has not lost. They were an 8 seed in the tournament last year. I mean, all these teams are tournament teams, James. That's what's impressive about this schedule.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, but that's what you want in a way, and obviously, you might have wanted this a little bit more maybe when Caitlin was here, right? But obviously, you take it when you can take it, right? And
They
just
play
keep
tough
running.
schedules with Caitlin here.
And
I
they
mean,
did, yeah. But I'm saying like you had the same schedule too, like, but I feel good about it, and I know they might lose one or two of those games, but I still feel good about the team overall. You know, I feel good about the team overall. I think that's the most important thing, right? You know, if you drop a couple, it's like if you lose to Tennessee, whatever, I still feel good about the team overall. You know, if that makes sense.
yep. And the only team on that list of P4s that they'd play that I'm not sure on is Wazoo. I think Wazoo. Don't quote me on this. I think Wazoo made like the NIT last year, perhaps.
That
But
sounds right.
they got waxed the other night by Stanford, narrowly beat cross-state rival Eastern Washington earlier in the season. But Tennessee's good. Kansas looks to be pretty good.
They got a
Drake
good player.
good.
Kansas got a really good player. She was like first team Big. I forgot what her name is, but she was like first team Big 12. I think her last name is Parker or something like that. They said on the broadcast. I remember her name, but I don't remember what her name was. But she was like first team All Big 12 last year. She was like one of the better players in the Big 12. So
And I don't, whenever you're playing in a neutral site like the Rhode Island BYU, those two teams are somewhat of we don't know what to expect out of either one of those teams. But it's Cancun. Weird things happen when you travel. And that'll be another test of a staff that's new together with new players and trying to keep these girls focused on the task at hand. And obviously, we know the challenges that Iowa State brings and the challenges Northern Iowa brings. You probably know more about the Panthers than anybody else, James.
yeah, for sure. And obviously, they're always tough. They brought back a lot. The United too, and
And
it's always tough. At least
they were an
what?
team. They were an NIT team last year as well.
Yeah, I know, but they brought back like almost everybody. Their whole starting five is back, so that's gonna be a tough team too. And they're just gonna keep getting better. Them and Drake were like 1-2 projected in the NBC, so it's gonna be
Bring it
tough
on.
when it comes to that. But we'll see how it goes. Like I said, and it's just good to get the win. And now we'll see how Friday night goes with the boys. Hopefully hopefully Owen's healthy enough to play. In his hometown. It would suck to miss a game like that for him. But
Yeah. No, I think he'll play based on everything I've heard. I haven't asked here since last night, but based on everything I've heard, he should be good to go. If he's not, then they could be in some trouble. I don't know. I haven't studied Wazoo's roster here of late. I do know they've produced some pretty good big men in recent
yeah,
years. So my guess is perhaps they're pretty strong on the front court, and they're going to need his depth. It's not going to be like last night. So
no,
it'll be
yeah,
a
for
fun
sure.
environment.
But I'll let you go, and
James.
good to get the win like always. And let's keep these trains moving on both sides. And it's just good to see the win. And good, like I said, to get those girls to sign pen to paper because you never know nowadays with NIL and how the money flies around. You never know. So you always got to make sure to get the people you need, especially Addie. Addie Deal's a big get. One of the better players. She's the number 18 class in the country. So, number 18 player in the country. So
And
it's
remember,
always a big get.
Journey Houston's stock, I think, has dropped a little bit in the national rankings, but
But she plays with one of the best players in the. Sometimes when you play with one of the best players like that, your stock's gonna drop a little bit just because how much they get attention, if that makes sense. So
yeah, and she was a 5-star at points at different occasions according to different services. So they got a good class. Don't get me wrong; it's a strong class, and it starts with Addie Deal, and we don't know what they could do in the portal. Remember, they have an open scholarship right now that they didn't use, but I have a feeling that Jan might be a little more active than Lisa was in the portal.
for sure, and obviously we'll have to wait to see that, and we have to wait to see how the season pans out. But it's weird with no football this week, so it might be a good thing, with how much stress they put on us sometimes. But we can keep watching basketball, and it'll be fun for now. But I'll talk to you later, and go Hawks.
Thank you, sir. Bob says, great win. Don't know if they were that good or if Toledo is that bad. Yeah, it's hard to tell, right? I mean, that's why I think the most you read into anything at this point is the win on Sunday against Virginia Tech. We don't know a ton about Va Tech, but they are an ACC team. Projected middle of the ACC this year, kind of, maybe a little on the lower end of that. Again, Toledo was 1-0 heading into tonight and beat Marshall. So does anybody know what Marshall has done? I guess we could look at what has Marshall done. Let's look up Marshall real quick before we go to our next caller, which is Tony. So again, Toledo is now 1-1. Their win against Marshall the other night was by 3, and Marshall has beat. Now they lost to Northern Kentucky, so they beat. They're 1-2. They lost to Toledo and Northern Kentucky. So yeah, I mean, we don't know. Toledo's another team that was picked middle of their conference, middle of the MAC. They've been really good. They've been one of the stronger teams in the MAC. It was brought up a couple of times tonight. They've had the last 2 MAC players of the year, and but they lost a lot. So there is that. And Jason says, I think Taylor McCabe will lead the Big Ten in 3-point percentage. She's got a pure shot, and that's why I tweeted what I tweeted at the time. I'm like, I don't know what is going on with that scouting report. She probably could have broke her personal best. She didn't force shots, and that was credit to her because she could get a good look at any point tonight. They're going to have to run her off, and hopefully she uses the I don't want to call it a benching because Sydney Falter was always going to be the starter. But hopefully she uses that as motivation and has a little chip on her shoulder and might be able to really be a three-point markswoman off the bench all year long. Let's go to our next caller. We got Tony here. Tony, welcome back, sir.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good. Good to see you.
Good. So I'm going to send this to you in the private chat thing. Massey is the only computer rankings I could find for women's basketball that's comparable to KenPom. This is Iowa's team page. They have Toledo as the 79th best team, Virginia Tech as the 23rd, and Northern Illinois is 225. And it has the rest. This is very similar to a page. I don't know if you can see that without. Oh, did you freeze up? Hello?
I got it here. I think it's
oh, sorry.
I got you, Tony.
Okay, sorry. Yours was buffering on my end, so I don't know if that was me.
Yeah, your Massey ratings are making my computer crash.
I promise it's not a spam site or anything like that.
No, that's me because your Massey rate. Tony, your Massey ratings are making my computer crash.
Okay, I'm sorry then ignore them and don't go to them. But that was the closest I could find. I was looking at them just also because they had previous defensive rankings. This year they have Iowa as 60th. Small sample size, granted, but for point of reference, in 2024 we were 103. In 2023 we were 122. And in 2022 we were 129. Okay. So small sample size, but early returns say the defense could be improving and the offense is still performing at an elite level. Granted.
Yeah. So far, so good, Tony. I will say three-point shooting the other night probably could have been better against Virginia Tech, but it responded tonight against a defense that didn't look to be all that strong in Toledo. What I was saying when I was breaking up is as soon as I clicked on your Massey ratings, my computer tried to crash on me. So I think you sent me a virus, Tony. I think that's what
I promise I did not send you that. They had the score before this game as 86-62, and they have the Drake game as 86-72.
So they have Iowa winning by 14 on the road?
Yep.
Wow. So I'm curious. This is a question that you probably have the answer to, and I do not. You compare Massey ratings sort of to KenPom. Is that fair?
There's nothing else out there for women's basketball like KenPom.
So
women's basketball doesn't have a KenPom.
So my point is, but is it the closest equivalent? Is that kind of what you're saying?
It's the only thing out there. So I don't know if it's the closest. It's the only thing I could gather. I went through Google for like 15, 20 minutes and couldn't find any computer rankings. Yeah. Like nothing that was up to date. And the net doesn't come out for at least 4 to 5 weeks into the season. It's not right away. They want to make sure they get enough of a sample size that when they put out rankings, they're good, because it's pointless to put out rankings this early. Well, we got to have something to talk about, but.
Yeah, well, I'm just curious how these like Massey and KenPom, that there's got to be some projection. They can't be pure rankings because there's nothing to rank when you're just projecting. I guess that's my point. I'd be curious to know.
Just looking at it, it uses similar, I don't know, qualifiers or whatever you want to say. They rank the teams based off of, offensive. Let's see. Power ranking, offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency, strength of schedule, and a few other things. So, they've got pretty similar metrics to what KenPom does.
Tony, do you watch this show basically every time we're live, right? For the most part?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Caitlin Clark Fan Club says, are you going to apologize to Taylor McCabe? She killed it tonight. Okay.
Well,
tell me what I'm apologizing. What am I apologizing for?
I bet you there was some show that was maybe 9 months ago and last season where you may have said something about Taylor McCabe and people are going to remember it.
I said, but maybe this is what they're referring to. I said the other night, if she's not making threes, she's a liability. And I stand by that. She's a liability.
Yeah.
She is. She's not making threes, but it's not a rip. It's just, it'd be like saying if Owen Freeman's not rebounding, not making shots around the rim, and not defending, then he's a liability. That's just how it is. You take a player's strengths away if they're not, like if they're not all-around players. And Taylor McCabe is not an all-around player relative to Big Ten players. She's just not. Just like Gabby Marshall was not.
That's what I was going to say. Same thing.
Great effort on the defensive end, and I got ripped for being hard on Gabby at times, but if she wasn't making threes, she had to bring it with effort on the defensive end. And so, anyways, I like I said, I tweeted out early tonight, shoot the ball, because I thought Toledo's game plan was horrid on Taylor McCabe, and I stand by that. What I said the other night as it relates to the starting lineup, why would you put Kylie Feuerbach on the bench? She's been playing too well to bench her. And I know that's maybe not the popular opinion because people love, these shooters, these streaky shooters, and someone like Gabby, who I don't know what it was about Gabby that maybe it was just the effort she gave on defense, and I get it. I'm not ripping on Gabby Marshall. I'm just saying, I'm just calling a spade, and give credit to Taylor. She needs to make a lot of threes this year. I don't know what a good number is, but if she could lead the conference in shooting percentage as probably the sixth player off the first player off the bench, kudos to her. And how about Taylor Strimlow getting in there? I think a second or two. I'm exaggerating, of course, but she got in there a little before Tegan Mullaney, I think, tonight.
It's if you're not positive, you're negative, and people can't handle negative criticism sometimes. People are going to have, it's so hard to be, all compared to baseball, like they say a 5-tool player. They're so hard to be a basketball's version of a 5-tool player. We're going to be excellent at everything. People are going to have shortcomings. That's just the way it is. You're not. Go ahead.
However, some people have more than others. And
correct.
The good players, I shouldn't say good players. That's not fair. The people who are able to make the NBA and the WNBA, I can speak more so for the NBA. If you're just a shooter, you better know how to defend. If shooting is the only thing you bring offensively, you better be able to defend. If you're not making it in the league, you can't play defense. If you're just a shooter, all right. Now, people like James Harden can afford not to defend because he can score at every level, and he's a great ball handler, etc. But like if Duncan Robinson hadn't been able to make threes and defend, he won't make in the league. You got to be able to do both. So that's what I'm saying. Taylor McCabe can play at this level just as a shooter, but when she's not making shots, she probably shouldn't be on the floor. That's the point. And that's a fine line because you don't want to bench somebody. You don't want to bench a shooter because they're not shooting. You'd like for them to be able to shoot out of it. And so hopefully that's not a problem. She's a phenomenal shooter. Nobody's questioning that. And by the way, Jordan in the chat, yes, Kasheen or we right. Kasheen will not be on tonight. I did talk to Kasheen. The plan is for her to be on Sunday, and it looks like Kasheen made her way into the chat. So anyways, go ahead, Tony.
No, that's really all I had to say was I was just looking into the computer rankings to try to find something. That Massey thing, I'll just go over it, like to add on to how strong this schedule is. Drake is 64. Kansas a week from today is 35. Wazoo's 41. BYU's 68. Tennessee's 11. Iowa State's 19. Northern Iowa's 70. That's a tough non-conference schedule.
Where's Rhode Island?
131. Not horrible.
Okay.
That's what Massey has him at, is 131. I don't know. That could change, whatever. But it's still a top 150-ish team. That's not a bad non-conference schedule at all. So they're going to get tested.
I'd be curious, like if they go and here's what can happen, Tony, especially with a young team that maybe doesn't know better, in a good way, doesn't know better. If they just keep rattling off wins. Now I'm telling you, that game against Drake, that scares me more than the game up in South Dakota that you and I will both be at. That game this Sunday scares me more than any of the other ones, with the exception probably Iowa State, but that one's at home. It is such a different animal in that little gym down in Des Moines.
What did you say?
It's just such a different animal down in that little gym in Des Moines.
If you think that, I'll tell you this: if you think that gym's little, it's double the size of the game we're going to next week.
No, it's not.
It's only 3,000, Corey. The Pentagon.
Well, but the Naps. What's the Naps?
It's 6. I want to say it's 6.
Center capacity. Let's see here. Okay, it says 6'4". The Nap Center is 6'4". So, all right. Well, nevertheless, I'm just saying it's.
Well, no, it's gonna be the difference is your point's right. I wasn't trying to one up or whatever. It's that 6,000 person gym is probably at least going to be 50-50, if not 60-40 against them.
Oh, you're talking about Drake?
Yeah, the Drake game. Or at Pentagon, it's going to be a home.
I'm telling you right now, and I'll be shocked if this is not the case. I can tell you 2 years ago when I went to that Drake game, Iowa Drake, and it went to overtime. It was an ESPN Plus game. Caitlin Clark played. There were Iowa fans, but it was 75% Drake.
Okay, I was trying to be nice to say it, but yeah, I would say it should be a home court advantage where the Kansas game will.
My guess is that it will be probably 75 again this year. And
75-25.
Just so people are aware, I want everybody to know this because I will be at the game Sunday against Drake. If you're going, please come up and say hi. There are single game tickets available. Okay. We had a discussion the other day on this very show about buying a 3-game package for $45. I just checked before going live. There are still some general admission tickets for Iowa Drake in Des Moines. I don't know if Iowa fans don't realize that because here's what Iowa does, Tony. Here's what Iowa does. You go on the schedule on HawkeyeSports.com and you click on tickets for Drake. And it sends you to SeatGeek, which are all third-party tickets, right? So I'm telling you, go over to Drake's website and buy your tickets there. I was shocked when I saw there were still general admission tickets available. That's why I think maybe Iowa fans don't realize that they can buy tickets this way because the cheapest seats on SeatGeek were like $35 plus fees. They're $15 plus a $3 fee for general admission at Drake this Sunday, and there are still tickets available. That I was in shock when I saw that. So, anyways,
I just looked at the same thing. Tickets $15 to $50.
Yeah.
It also is saying that it's going to be broadcast on Mediacom Connections 22 for some people who may not get ESPN Plus because remember that is a ESPN Plus game.
I didn't know Mediacom Connections 22 still existed, Tony.
It's still Drake's website saying. And it's the 50th anniversary of Drake women's basketball. They're celebrating that.
Great.
That's what it says on their website. So, I mean, they're going to pull out everything to make sure that crowd's just as raucous as can be, and I don't blame them.
Taylor McCabe's boyfriend will have turned 20 2 days before. So she's going to be playing for Owen Freeman. So, Anyway.
Yeah. But no, it's you're right. Like, that's the other thing is they take you to sites that aren't legitimate because SeatGeek, I believe, is sponsored, right? By the University of Iowa pays them, or one pays the other. Like, just do a quick Google search, and then you can go to the other team's website. Here you go, tickets from 15 to 50. You click on it, but I don't know if now the website's crashed, so I don't know if people have found this out and you told all your friends.
All the people they've flooded over to the Drake website.
Yeah, it won't even load.
Is it really crashed?
It won't even load. I'm clicking on it, and I mean, I've got a 1G fiber connection here to my house, and this thing will not load at all.
I'm telling you, don't you find that strange?
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's available at this point.
100%, because that Sioux Falls game, Corey, that sold out in 5 minutes.
I'm telling you, don't realize it. All right.
And you can go to Des Moines, and you could probably just go to the ticket office and walk up and save on the fees. A lot of fans are in the central Iowa area. Just drive down to Des Moines, and
there's a lot of fans in Des Moines. So
yeah. A lot of fans. Sorry for keeping you or anything. I know you probably got to get to Kyle and stuff like
Tony,
that. But yeah,
appreciate you being here, sir. And
no problem.
We'll look forward to the next couple of weeks. Thank you, sir.
Sounds good. Yep. See you.
Appreciate Tony calling in and being a part of the show as always. And let's see here. Just want to make sure. So yeah, I mentioned that about the women's basketball tickets. And let's see. Tony's website crashed. Let me see if I can get mine to load on the Drake Bulldogs website. Let's see, women's basketball, single game tickets. Head over for Iowa on Sunday. And are you serious? Actually, okay, I'm not seeing any seats. Are you kidding me? I literally just checked this and there were seats available. And now I'm on the map and it says there are none. Wow. Okay, let's see if that's a glitch. We'll go back. We'll check in on that here in a little bit. But Let's welcome our good friend Kyle Huseman of HawkeyeReport.com. And on 3, Kyle, good to see your face from Carver Hawkeye Arena this evening, and fresh off another big win for the Hawkeyes, a third of the season, and you're fresh off the press conference with Coach Jensen. So welcome back. Obviously, I'm sure Jan was thrilled. I kind of tabbed this at following the game on Sunday as maybe a potential for being a letdown game, a trap game. You're coming off the big win on the road, neutral site, but it's across the country, and you're traveling to a raucous place in Des Moines next Sunday. The Hawkeyes did not even show signs of this being a hangover game. I'm sure Jan was thrilled in the press conference.
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me on. Hopefully it's not too loud behind me or anything. I forgot my AirPods today, so
no, you're good.
Just got it coming out of the laptop for the sound. But yeah, I think you're right that coming off a win against Virginia Tech. Now we don't know how good Virginia Tech's going to be. We don't think they're probably going to be one of the best teams in the ACC this year, and there's going to be obviously tougher games coming forward. But it was that first trip on the road, that first kind of tough game of the season. You never know how the team's going to respond to that, and they responded well in that game, played well defensively, and obviously won comfortably. And then you come here to play Toledo, a team that's won the MAC 3 straight years. The MAC regular season, I should say, 3 straight seasons. They lost their top couple of scores, but they still had some good players on that team. And, it was one of those where I thought, maybe a little bit closer. I honestly thought Toledo was going to be better than Northern Illinois. And Iowa, like you said, just handled them from start to finish. I mean, it was 8-5 early. Toledo has the lead, and Iowa finished the quarter on a 23-2 run, and it's already over at that point. They played really well defensively. I think that's the first thing that stood out to me. I think they forced 3 or 4 shot clock violations. I think it was 3. I think there was another one where they got a rebound or something right at the buzzer. So really good defensively there, and in terms of just not allowing them to get shots at times. But I mean, Toledo shoots 31% for the game, 24% from 3, 16 turnovers. In terms of points off turnovers, Iowa outscored them 20-6. That'll win you a lot of games. They rebounded them 39-31. So I thought the defensive end of the floor was really good. And Jan Jensen mentioned that in the post game is one of those things where coming into the season, they knew that they had a lot of players that they lost a lot of points from this team. Caitlin Clark, Kate Martin, Gabby Marshall, even Molly Davis had her fair share of points. So they knew that, there's no way to replicate those 4 players that you lost. They knew they had to get better in a couple of different places, and one of them was defense. And she said that she feels like this roster, with the Lucy Olsen, who's a lengthy guard, Taylor Stremel, who's come off the bench and played good defense. Sita Fulter's always been a fantastic defender, whether she's on a forward or a guard. Kylie Fierbach's always been someone that's been able to create some chaos on the defensive end. She felt like this team could be better defensively, so they really emphasized it over the offseason, really worked on it. And the other thing she says that Sean Sullivan, the new assistant coach, who was at North Carolina, I believe previously Penn State, he graduated from Iowa as a manager here. He's done a lot of video scouting for those teams that he's with. I believe he's the video scout for North Carolina last year. Everything I've heard so far is that he's done a fantastic job. We heard Taylor Stremel mention it in the media press conference earlier this week, that he was really the reason why they were as good as they were defensively against Virginia Tech was his scouting of the game of Virginia Tech prior to that game. So I think the roster is a little bit better for them to be better defensively, and then the coaching staff, Raina Harmon's another one that's got some defensive background. I know she has some ideas and stuff that she would like to implement. But I think that's the thing that stands out to me so far is the Northern Illinois game. There were some cracks in there where you saw they had to get better at. The 3-point defense was one of them. Virginia Tech, they played better, and then tonight they were just lights out defensively. And that allowed them to really get things rolling early in the game. And like I said, the 23-2 run in the first quarter is really what put it away. And then it was just really good basketball the whole night.
I was confused. I mentioned this at the outset, Kyle. Toledo's game plan / scouting against Taylor McCabe. I don't understand how you continue to be left wide open possession after possession. And I tweeted it out, let it fly, because it seemed like maybe Toledo didn't get the scouting report, but it was good to see Taylor. She's been starting. She goes to the bench, comes off the bench, and is able to make a flurry of threes. I don't know if she was made available, but just talk about her efforts. I don't know if Jan made a point of mentioning Taylor's performance tonight.
Yeah, and Ted, we did get to talk to Taylor after the game. I'll have the video up on our YouTube page here in a little bit. That really to me is I wouldn't say
Okay, looks like we may have lost Kyle. It's those Carver Wi-Fi bugs. Let's see if we can. All right, we'll have to get Kyle back. I don't think that's on my end. I'm 100% certain it's not on my end. So we'll try to get Kyle back here in a second. He's still frozen on my end. Folks, this is what I was talking about. Let me share my screen here real quick. I'm not kidding, and Tony can attest to this. We were talking about it. I literally checked it during the broadcast. There were tickets available. Within 3 minutes, this popped up. Sold out. I kid you not, folks. I'm assuming that those are Hawkeye fans that went over there and bought tickets. So that's incredible stuff. Let's see if we got Kyle back. Kyle, are we back with us?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know if you lost. I didn't know if it was on my end or your end there.
Yeah, I think you succumbed to the vaunted Carver Wi-Fi bug there. But
I can start over with my thoughts on Taylor McCabe. I thought that was really something that I wouldn't say relief is the type word, but I was a little concerned with how that would go. I think we talked about it after the Virginia Tech game, just how that works, because Kylie Feuerbach is someone that has played that bench role. She knows what has to happen for her when she comes off the bench as a role player. And Taylor McCabe's had that time on the bench, but she hasn't really been in a bench role. Her time on the bench has generally been, I'm probably not going to play in this game, or I'm only going to play if we're up by a lot type of thing. So how does she react to getting put into that position? And she mentioned in the press conference right away that when she was asked about it, that she knew, Sita Fulter is obviously going to be in the starting lineup. There's no reason not to have Sita Fulter in the starting lineup if she's at 100%. And she knew that she could have been the odd person out. So she knew that her role changes just a little bit coming off the bench. You have to have a little bit of a different mindset. But she knows that her role on this team is to come in and be a high-level three-point shooter, and then try to do some other things, whether it's, be decent on the defensive end and try to score in some other ways, facilitate the offense, whatever she's got to do. But she specifically in the press conference after the game seemed like she was pretty okay with being out of the starting lineup, which not every player would be. So first off, it was great to hear that she had the right mindset about it. And then Jan Jensen kind of echoed that statement and said, there was a question asked to her about, what was that conversation like with Taylor? When did she find out things like that? And Jan said it wasn't like a whole big to do. Like I brought Taylor into my office and we sat down. It was just, I believe it was shoot around today, or, she said they were walking off the court, and she kind of said, hey, Taylor, you're going to be coming off the bench today. And Taylor apparently was like, I figured that it was going to happen potentially me with Sid coming back into the lineup. And it was all right. It was a very quick, 10, 15, I think Jan said, from the time they walked off the court to get to the locker room. So 30-second conversation. Hey, you're going to be coming off the bench. And Taylor saying, yep, that's good. I expected that. And then it was done. And that's good, because there's situations where players, not necessarily at Iowa, other schools, that they wouldn't be happy with that. And it would take more than a quick 15, 20-second conversation. But to see Taylor come out, hit 4 threes tonight, on a night where she's the only one to make a three for Iowa, that was a really good sign to see that Taylor is going to be okay with coming off the bench, and she can still do that at a high level and still produce the way that we expected to see her produce. But I mean, coming into the season, I thought Taylor could be a starter instead of Kylie, but Kylie's obviously done a very good job and brings a little bit more on the defensive end, which is why I think she's staying in the lineup for now. But like I said, to see Taylor come out and do that tonight off the bench is a really good sign going forward.
And 9 of 9. I mean, this is a really impressive stat for Hannah Stuelke. 9 of 9 from the free throw line, and that's one thing I had tabbed preseason. Kyle, she goes from like 45% her freshman year. Last year, I think she was low 60s. I said, if you can get her to 70 plus, with her ability to rim run, and just she's going to have more opportunities to score now, given what they lost. How big is that? And I don't know if that's gotten brought up with Coach Jensen, but we're starting to see a sample size big enough to judge or hear early. She was phenomenal from the line tonight.
Yeah, that was one of, there were several stats that stood out to me tonight. I'll get to those in a second. One of them was definitely Hannah Stuelke going 9 of 9 at the line. Now, she doesn't have to be 9 of 9 every night. She's probably not going to get 9 free throw attempts every night. But to see her be able to do that is a really good sign, because a lot of it is confidence with her, knowing, just going over there and saying, I can make these free throws. Confidence is a big part of her game. It's not just free throws. It's, whether it's shooting the mid-range jumper or knowing she can drive to the basket, those things, because her shot's good. I mean, if you watch her free throw, stroke, it's a really good shot. There's no reason why she can't shoot 70-75% with her shot. So that was a really good sign to see her do that tonight and get off to a good start. this season. Obviously 17 points, 9 rebounds is really good. She mentioned that she feels really good in terms of health with her knee. She notices differences in her game, both offensively and defensively, just knowing that every step isn't going to have a little bit of pain like she had last season, so she can go out and play a little bit more free. I've been pretty happy with what I've seen from Hannah through the first couple of games. Now, obviously, when the schedule ramps up with Drake on Sunday, it'll be nice to see how Hannah responds in that type of game. If that same aggression, that same free flowing play comes out. But a couple other stats that I saw that stood out to me: Sita Folter, just her second game this season now, played 24 minutes against Virginia Tech, was able to play 22 tonight, a little bit lower, just because they were up by a lot. But I still don't. There were still a couple of plays where it's like, Sid's still just trying to get back into it. But 11 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. That's just what you've come to expect from a Sita Folter, is that a little bit of everything. I still think that there's room for her to grow this season in terms of getting back into it. And I expect to see her continue to play better as the season goes on. So it's just a good sign to see. It was the same thing against Virginia Tech. I believe she had 6 rebounds and 4 assists in that game. Something like, just to see her fill it up in those statistical categories when she's just still trying to work her way back into it. And the other thing was Addie O'Grady with 3 assists. She could have had 4, 5, 6 assists. She was really good passing the ball tonight. Had a couple at the end of the first quarter where she dumped them off to Lucy Olson on some cuts to the basket. And Jan Jensen spoke about that after the game a little bit, that Addie's always been a good passer. Some people may not know that in high school, Addie O'Grady played with Lauren Betts in Colorado at the high school. I forget what high school she's from. But Addie O'Grady and Lauren Betts would be on the floor at the same time, and Lauren is obviously 6'7", whatever she is. So Addie O'Grady wasn't in the post all the time. They did a lot of high-low actions in that offense, so she learned how to pass to Lauren Betts. So Jan said that's something they saw in the recruiting process, and it's something that's starting to come out now, that Addie's playing more minutes than the 5 minutes a game that she was getting last year. You don't really get to see her passing. But that really opens up the offense when you can dump it into Addie at the free throw line and run cutters past her or whatever, or you can get it in there and she can kick out to open shooters. Having a center that can be a willing passer and a good passer really opens up an offense, because there are centers out there that, they catch the ball and it's like, I've got to try to turn it and try to score, or they're just not great ball handlers in general. They'll turn it over trying to pass it. But to see Addie do that, she doesn't have to be a 5 assists per game person, but 3 assists tonight. Those were all 3 really good assists. I think the other 2 passes turned into fouls and free throws, but that stood out to me as well. So there were just a couple of stats that I felt really stood out tonight. All in all, a really, really good performance. 94 to 57. I think I had 87-64 was my prediction. So this blew me away a bit on how easy they were able to get this win tonight.
And a couple other stats. I mean, just turnovers, only turned the ball over 8 times. You may have mentioned that, but obviously impressive. Typically, turnovers translate. So you'll see games on both the men's and the women's side where, hey, you're playing an inferior opponent, but you still turn the ball over 15 times because you're careless. Didn't do that tonight.
And I would say the interesting thing about that, and Jan spoke about that a little bit as well, is you had players last year, mostly Caitlin. I would say almost all of it was Caitlin, and the fact that Caitlin was super comfortable taking risks on passes, and it worked out a lot of times. We saw Caitlin throw some of the best passes you'll ever see, but sometimes that led to turnovers. She turned it over in some games, especially games where she needed to pass a lot. Those close games, she would have sometimes games where she turned it over 8-9 times. But Jan mentioned that this team right now, the only risky pass person is Taylor Stremlo, the freshman off the bench. She'll throw some risky passes at times, and we've seen her court vision is incredible as a freshman. It's only going to continue to get better as she kind of learns what she can and can't do as a college passer. But everyone else, no one's really done a lot of risky passing, and Jan says she thinks it comes from this team has players that haven't played a ton of, don't have a ton of experience, like a Kylie Fierbach or a Taylor McCabe or someone like that, who are in bigger roles this year. Or you have a Lucy Olson who's playing on a new team this year. She has tons of experience, but she's on a new team this year. And then you have the group of freshmen playing. They're all players that don't want to be the one to have the risky passes and turn it over 3 times and have to go sit down on the bench. So where Jan talks about, I love seeing Taylor Stremlo not be afraid of doing things. The rest of the players are, a little bit, holding off on some of the risky passes. And what Iowa does is they run their offense so well. And you see it tonight with 18 assists on 31 made baskets. That's a really good ratio there. They share the ball so well that they're okay with, passing up. Oh, I could have tried to fit it into that cutter. I could have tried to fit it to them over there on the 3-point line, but let's work it around. And I don't want to do that risky pass now. We can work it around. And they do such a good job at running their offense that if they don't take that risky pass, they're still likely to find a pretty good shot somewhere. So 8 turnovers is fantastic. I think Jan would sign up to be right around 8 to 10 all season if she could. So I think that's part of it. Is you have a team right now that's just trying to do everything right early in the season. And they're passing up a couple of those. They could try to throw one down the court off a rebound, something like that. But I think at times, if you pass that up, the way they run the offense, the opportunities are going to be there. So yeah, I just thought I'd throw that. I think Jan feels like that's the key right now, is that they're just holding off on some of the risky passes, and maybe they'll come as the season goes on. Maybe you'll have some that work out from leak outs to Hannah or something, and maybe there'll be a couple turnovers here and there. But right now, they're just kind of focused on running the offense and getting good shots, and it's worked so far this year.
And dominating the paint tonight, 52-20. And this is a Toledo team, unlike Virginia Tech, that did present some size in the post. And so that's notable. Now, they didn't dominate on the glass quite like they did the other night, but still they were +8. And most nights that is going to get it done. And just all around real solid collectively. And you mentioned Taylor Strimlow, Kyle. Not a real big stat night for her, but gave you 2 rebounds, gave you 4 points, 2 assists, and no turnovers. And she's just solid. And she's good on the defensive end. And she's going to get better, but she moves her feet well. And, she's not, how do I put this? She's not some flimsy freshman, right? She's built enough as a freshman, I think, to come in physically and compete at that position in this conference. Now, I do want to ask you about one injury. We've talked about Aaliyah trying to work her way back. Do you know the situation? Maybe we've discussed this and I'm just missing this. What's the situation with Kenise Johnson-Etienne? I know she was in street clothes today. Is she out for a period of time? Do you know the situation for Kenise?
I do not. I know she tore ACL later last season, so I don't remember when that was.
Okay.
Just because she wasn't playing at the time, playing minutes at the time, it was kind of one of those things that she showed up on the injury report as out, and no one really asked about it at the time. So she may have suffered that a little bit later in the season. So I mean, obviously in street clothes, she's not ready to play. I don't know if she's back to practice at all. Though I will say Aaliyah Guyton was in uniform tonight, which is a good sign. She was still listed as out, so although she was in uniform and did some warm-ups, she was never going to play. But definitely a good sign to see her at least in uniform. That means she's getting a little bit closer, because Jan Jensen has said that she is probably the backup point guard when she's back to 100%, or at least close to 100% and playing. But yeah, I do not know the situation on Kenise Johnson at this time right now.
Looks like so. There's a question here. Kelly wants to know, is Guyton going to redshirt? Well, the answer to that is no.
No, I don't think that was ever, unless she had a setback. I do think some of those questions are valid, because we heard early, way back in the summer when we got to talk to Jan Jensen, they were optimistic that if everything went right, Aaliyah Guyton could be practicing, in September, October, and be ready for the season. Looking back on that, I think that was a really aggressive approach. That was going to be 10 out of 10 best case scenario possible. So I don't fault people for not seeing it when we were still saying she's not back to practice. There was some worry there. But I still think she's on a pretty good timeline. I mean, she tore ACL late, right around New Year's, right? I think it was really late December. So I mean, I think that's a pretty good timeline if she can get back here towards the end of this month. Again, I don't know exactly what the timeline is for, but to be in uniform tonight is a good sign. So I think we're getting her back sooner rather than later. Again, like I said, Jan thinks that she can be the backup point guard. I'm still a little concerned about her getting into, they're going to be playing tough games coming up. So do you want to just throw her into the fire in a close game, or so I'm curious how they try to ease her into things. But yeah, and she's not going to redshirt. She'll be playing at some point this season.
And there was a question here from, let's see if we can, I don't know. Let's see. Is it the question here from T. Hink asking about a recruit here? What's his giving it to? Unofficial visit a couple of weeks ago, 5-star in class of 26, correct, Kyle? Who are we talking about here?
A couple weeks ago, if it was for a football game, could be McKenna Wilitzko.
Okay.
She would be the 5-star. I don't have a huge update. I know the visit went very well. She's going to be very highly recruited. There's going to be all the top programs around her. She did release her top 10 recently. Iowa was in it. I don't have it up right now. There was, let me see. Pull it up quick. Her top 10 is Florida State, Iowa, North Carolina, Notre Dame, Ohio State, South Carolina, Stanford, Texas, USC, and Vanderbilt. So a lot of very good teams in there. But everything that I know about the official visit was that went very well. The whole family was here, and they really liked everything that Iowa had to offer from the visit standpoint. Really liked the coaching staff, and from what I've heard from her when I did my article with her, she really liked the visit as well. Something that may come up in her recruitment is she's interested in helping, on the health side of things. She her majors, she isn't fully set on it. But she was over at the Stead Family Children's Hospital. That was very important for her to get over there during her visit and meet some people over there. So she's really serious about getting into that type of field. We don't talk about it a lot with recruits, and especially highly rated recruits, the education side of things. But if that's something she's really interested in, that could certainly play a part in her recruitment. But as you know, with all highly recruited 5-star recruits, it's gonna. That decision's not coming now. It's going to be one of those that's probably around this time next year, right around signing day time. So still a long way to go in her recruitment, but I think her unofficial visit, which was her first visit to Iowa, went very well.
And we'll try to get you out of here, but there are a couple questions here streaming in for you specifically, Kyle. Latest on Madden Greenway, she released, was it her top 5?
Yep.
Top 3, whatever that was, here not that long ago?
I think right now, I believe she's trending toward the plan is for her to announce in the next week or so. I do not expect that to be Iowa. I think Kentucky is probably the leader right now. I know Duke's been talked about. I know UCLA is in there as well. And I think a lot of people go back to what she said. It was several years ago now. I think it was an interview with Minnesota. She said something about, I'd really like to go to Iowa when someone asked about Minnesota. She was either in 7th or 8th grade at that time. So people change. She changes her opinion. I think some of it comes down to
change, Kyle.
Yeah. And I know people want to talk about, Chad and his wife, whose name is escaping me at the moment. She ran track at Iowa, I believe. And obviously everybody knows what Chad did at Iowa for football. So everybody just kind of assumes they're coming to Madden would come to Iowa. I've talked to her several times. I've talked to Chad several times. Chad and his wife, they were never going to say you're going to Iowa. They definitely want her to go to Iowa. If she said I want to go to Iowa, they would be ecstatic. But they've been the family that says you do whatever you want to do. And as Maddie's gotten older, she's decided that she didn't want to just come to Iowa because it's Iowa and she has the spot here if she wants to commit. She was going to take her visits. She was going to do everything that she wanted to do to make sure that wherever she goes is the right fit. And if it is Kentucky, Kenny Brooks is a fantastic coach. He had a fantastic program at Virginia Tech. He's trying to build something in Kentucky. So if that's who it is, that's a great program. And UCLA and Duke are the same way, great programs. So I think it's just a matter of, she wanted to make sure she found the right fit for her. And maybe that's not Iowa. And we've seen it happen with Fran McCaffrey's son, Jack, is going to Butler. Sometimes you just don't want to go to the school that everybody wants you to go to or thinks you're going to go to. You want to start your own story somewhere else. So I think that's where that's headed. As I said, I think she's getting to make a decision here pretty soon. So we'll see. But I would say right now it's probably not Iowa.
And then Brandon wants to know about a recruit with the last name Crusoe. Is that right here?
Is he talking about Natalie Cuso from Wisconsin?
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't recognize that name. Cuso.
Yeah, I don't know. She's an interesting one. I'll say this. She plays for the Wisconsin Lakers program, which is the same program that Tegan Mulaney's from. Interesting in the fact that they are very against players posting visits, posting about offers, things like that. I don't know why. I would think that you would want players to publicize what offers and visits they're going on to get some publicity out there about the program that they are in for an AAU team. But that's just how they run things over there. So I've done an article on Natalie before. People could search it if they wanted to read it. It's been several months now. At that point, Iowa was certainly in contention. But again, it's hard to get you get her side of what she thinks about Iowa. but I don't know what offer she has. I know she has an Iowa offer. I don't know anything else. She's a good player, so I'm assuming Big Ten schools are in there. I'm assuming she's got other highly rated schools. Don't know where she's visited. I know she's visited Iowa, but outside of that, it's hard to get a gauge when you have that stipulation with that program. I don't know where she's visited. Don't know what offer she has. So yeah, I think she's someone that I was definitely looking at, but she's one of those where I don't know a whole lot about just because of that situation.
And then last question from us, Kyle. Tyler wants to know about your biggest concerns heading to the big game in the Knapp Center on Sunday.
Yeah, I would say the biggest concern for me is the 3-point shooting right now, and we haven't gotten to that today. I don't know if I want to say concern, because this team has 3-point shooters. It's just a matter of, is that 3-point shooting going to show up on Sunday? I think what we've seen defensively, that's going to travel to Drake. Obviously, Drake's a better offensive team is probably the best offensive team they've seen. I would say they're probably the best offensive team that they're going to see for a little bit here. I think they're probably better than Kansas and Washington State. So they're going to get tested there, but I think Iowa's defense has been good enough that I'll feel pretty good about that, rebounding as well. Offensively, we've seen good enough stuff that I feel pretty good about it, but they're going to have to knock down threes. The last 2 games now they've made 4 each game. They've won both, but Drake is not going to be a 71-52 win like Virginia Tech, and it's not going to be a 94-57 win like tonight. That's going to be close. That's going to be a great game into the fourth quarter. Last time it took overtime with a team that had Kate and Gabby and Monica and Caitlin. And like you guys were saying before I got on, the 50th anniversary of Drake women's basketball, they're going to have alums back. They're going to have coaches back. It's going to be a crazy environment. So the thing that's going to have to happen is they're going to have to hit threes. And Taylor McCabe was the only one to hit one tonight. I'll say if they're 4-14 from 3 against Drake, I think they'll lose. Kylie Feuerbach's going to have to hit a couple, 1 or 2. Sida Fulcher might have to hit 1. Lucy Olsen might have to hit 1 or 2. It doesn't have to be a Caitlin performance where Caitlin goes out and hits 8 for you, like we saw. Taylor McCabe doesn't have to be the one to go hit 8 or 9 of them. But if Taylor hits 3 or 4, and Lucy Olsen hits 1 or 2, or Kylie Feuerbach hits 2 or 3, like we've seen her do, or Sida Fulcher, you can get to 10 or 12 pretty easily because they have that. And Tegan Mulaney's another one who's hit a little bit of a rough spot after a good night in the exhibition game. But they have enough capable shooters. It's just a matter of finding the looks and hitting them. And Jan mentioned that in the postgame that she feels like they're taking some ill-advised threes at times. Shots that you'd be more concerned if they were finding a bunch of open shots and just missing them. But she feels like they've had some ill-advised looks. And if you pass those up, and like I was mentioning earlier, they run the offense very well. If you pass up, a decent 3-point look, you're going to find some good 3-point looks at times. And I think they could have shot more than 14 tonight, but when you're up 20, 30 points, there's no reason to shoot 33s tonight. So that would be my concern is, can you get enough threes to win the game? Because 27 twos and 4 threes tonight, that works against Toledo. That won't work against Drake. So if they bring their 3-point shooting on Sunday, I think they'll win the game. But it's gonna be close the whole way. That's a really, really good Drake team. Katie Dennebier might be one of the better point guards they play, Big Ten and non-conference. She's a fantastic player. I've been looking through box scores. They've had some players that haven't been playing a ton the last few years that have stepped up so far this season. So it'll be a really good game. I'm excited to be out there. And I think it's going to be a close one. I have no idea who I'm going to pick because I think it could go either way.
And Kyle, I don't know if you caught this. I'm sure you did because you were logging on right as we were talking about it. There were tickets available a half hour ago. And I'm not saying that it's people that watch this show, but there were tickets available. Tony was on here and checked it, refreshed it, and they were gone. And now I just checked the Drake website. They're sold out. So it's going to be rocking in there. And you expected it sold out. I was shocked there were tickets available this week.
I was as well. Last time I was there for that overtime game 2 years ago. That was a fantastic atmosphere. There'll be a fair share of Iowa fans. I'd assume it'll be 75, 25, 80, 20. But it's the Knapp Center, so it's a smaller environment. So even if there is only 20% Iowa fans, it'll be loud still for both sides. I expect that to be a fantastic environment. Like I said, I'm excited to go. I like the Knapp Center. I like the smaller arenas when you pack out 6,000, 7,000. Those are the fun environments. Just as fun as when Carver's full. So yeah, that is pretty crazy that it kind of sold out right as we were doing this. And I like I said, I was surprised that there were tickets left as well.
Yeah, in full disclosure, I will not be there covering the game like Kyle is. I will be in the stands, and the only reason I'm in the stands is because literally 2 days ago, I came across. I thought I'm going to check the Drake website because they were selling. I knew they were still selling the 3-game packages, so you knew there were tickets still available. They were trying to sell tickets to, I think it was like a package of Belmont, maybe UNI and Iowa all together, and so we got some tickets and we'll be there. But yeah, I'm guessing those tickets on the secondary market will be going through the roof here in the next couple of days. So if people are willing to pay the dollar amount, but there's a lot of Hawkeye, it'll be interesting to see what percentage, because I would say that game 2 years ago, Kyle, was probably 75% Drake fans. As big as that Iowa team was, that was obviously it's a home court, but I'm just saying it was pro Drake.
Oh yeah.
And it's a hard place to play. And
very
hard place on Sunday.
And so. I think the last thing I'll mention before I go, because I have got my own stuff to do, but what Jan mentioned was now I lost my train of thought. What I was trying to say. I just lost my train of thought on the crowd.
The pro Drake crowd.
Oh yeah, no. So someone asked a question. Do you feel like you guys are still gonna have a target on your back this year? And she said yes. Some of the players are gone. Caitlin's gone. Kate's gone. Gabby's gone. But a team like Drake is the first example because they're the next game up. Teams still see the highlights. They know that Iowa's been to back-to-back Final Fours. They know that the amount of fans that Iowa has, the publicity that they get. Those teams that are facing Iowa this year don't care. They don't care that those players are gone. They see the Iowa women's basketball team. They know they've been to back-to-back Final Fours. It's kind of similar to when I mentioned like football, college football, those type of things. Some of the teams that win the national title, and then the next year they don't have things coming back. Everybody still wants to beat them. Everybody still wants to beat those teams. Everybody still wants to beat the men's basketball teams that won the national title. Even Villanova. Villanova's a team that won the national title a couple of years ago in men's basketball. And people are still hyping up wins over them. St. Joe's beat them the other night, and that was a huge win for them. Because people still remember, that's Villanova that won the national title a couple of years ago. It's going to be the same thing. Drake will come in they've been to back-to-back Final Fours. We want to beat the team that's been to back-to-back Final Fours. So even though Iowa's unranked right now and will hopefully be ranked here sometime soon, I think they should be now, the target is still there on their back just because of what has happened the last few years. So they're going to get Drake's best shot. They're going to get Kansas's best shot in Sioux Falls, and they'll get everybody's best shot all season.
Kyle Huseman of On3, HawkeyeReport.com. Everybody go over there and subscribe and check out Kyle's great work. You can follow him at Huseman Kyle on the good old X. Kyle, it's a pleasure, and we may have a bit of a delayed. We'll see if you're available Sunday. Kasheen and I will be doing a show, I think, later in the day because I'll be down there in Des Moines as well, and I'll get back to my home base. So we'll figure all that out. But safe travels to Des Moines Sunday, and let's hope we're talking about a big road win for the Hawks.
Yep. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Kyle. All right, folks. Hawkeyes and Bulldogs this Sunday, 2 p.m. Central Time on ESPN Plus. So that should be a marquee matchup. I wish it was not on ESPN Plus, but nevertheless, hopefully it's Hawkeye fans that gobbled up those final few tickets as we were talking about it live here on the postgame show. All right, folks. I want to give everybody I want to give our sponsor a quick shout out first, actually. If you have not checked out Ascent Nutrition, I implore you to do this. Who doesn't need better clarity, brain clarity, gut health, and certainly just overall immune system health, right? We all need to protect ourselves, especially as we head into a very cold and flu-heavy winter season here in the state of Iowa. And Ascent Nutrition is helping on so many fronts. Their humic and fulvic acid, their pine needle extract. These are products that are organic. They are wild harvested, and there's a 90-day money-back guarantee. That's key here, folks. You'll get 15% off when you check out these great products through our show, and the link is in our description. This is this is a company with strong Iowa roots. Its owner, I should say, Lance Shuttler, graduated from the University of Iowa, was a huge Hawkeye fan, and what he's passionate about, in addition to Hawkeye athletics, he's passionate about helping people feel better and live healthier and better lives. Click on the landing page in our description or type it into your browser. Go ascentnutrition.com/Hawkeyes and use the code Hawkeyes15 to get this great detox bundle. You can read all about it before you buy it. And you'll get 15% off the detox bundle with the code Hawkeyes15. This company goes through rigorous third-party testing to make sure what you're getting is the best available. And again, 15% off. Click the link in the description, enter the code Hawkeyes15, goascentnutrition.com/Hawkeyes, and better your brain health, folks, better your immune system health, and better your overall quality of life. Start your ascent today with Ascent Nutrition. Again, we're recapping Iowa's 94-57 win over the Toledo Rockets. And let's give everybody a quick update on the box score. I had it across the bottom of the screen. Let's throw it back up there. Hawkeyes led by their star player, Lucy Olson, who was a little quieter offensively tonight, but they didn't need a 20-plus point night from Lucy this evening. She finished with 14 points, but how about a plus 36 in the box score? Plus 36 when she was on the court. That's impressive. 6 of 9 from the field, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, a couple of rebounds, 4 assists, just 2 turnovers. Hannah Stolke, 17 points, 9 boards, 9 of 9 from the free throw line. Addison O'Grady added 10 points, 4 of 4 from the free throw line. They're shooting free throws well. 28 of 32 as a team from the free throw line. Addie also had 3 assists and a couple of block shots. Sydney Falter, her first start of the season, coming off injury, 11 points for Sydney, 4 of 5 from the field, along with 4 assists, no turns, 1 block shot, 2 steals. Kylie Feuerbach, a little quieter tonight offensively, but solid, 5 points, 3 rebounds, 2 of 4 from the field. Didn't really force much, didn't really take much, right? Just 2 3-point attempts. And as Kyle alluded to, just 4 makes as a team from behind the arc. They all came from Taylor McCabe, who finished, by the way, with 14 points and 4 rebounds. Tegan Mulaney added 6 off the bench. So did Ava Hayden. Jada Jempsey with 5 points. AJ Ediger with a pair. Taylor Stremlow had 4 points. And Callie Levine also saw game action this evening. Did not score, but added 2 rebounds on the night in just under 7 minutes of play. The Hawkeyes outscoring Toledo on with bench points 37 to, let's see here, 18, 37 to 18 over the Bulldogs. And how about that stat? 7 bench points for Iowa against Virginia Tech. So upping that against the Toledo Rockets. Let's go to our next caller. We got Cory here on hold. Cory, welcome to the show. Cory, I can't hear you. Cory, you with us? Refresh your browser. We'll come back to you. Let's go to the other Cory. Cory, welcome.
Oh, my.
Hey, that Cory's gone as well. What is happening? What is happening? People are going dark. Let's try the other Cory. Cory, are you with us now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I got you now. All right, I don't know.
All right. I don't know. It seems like there's been issues all night, so I don't know.
Well, we appreciate you being here. And have you hit the like button yet, Cory?
I hit the like button every time. You know I am.
You are the man. Appreciate that, sir.
No, I'm gonna be up all night, so I was listening to the show and I was intrigued with the conversation, and I've been able to watch a few of the games because they are on Big Ten Network and not Big Ten Plus. So shout out to Iowa Hoops for putting it on Big Ten Plus so I can listen and watch while I work.
Absolutely.
So that's nice. It'll be a fun and interesting season seeing the new look on both the men's and women's this year. I feel optimistic, but I feel like there's a lot of questions to be answered on a lot of the sides of the ball. But I am impressed with the defense so far of Jan Jensen teams. So it'll be intriguing to see if that trend continues.
That is a positive sign. Again, still early. It's a positive sign. And I think it's recognition not only with the coaching change, right? They were going to hire somebody to get Sean Sullivan in defensive purposes. And there clearly has been a different level of emphasis on that and rebounding. And we heard that during Women's Basketball Media Day here about a month ago, that there was more of an emphasis on those 2 categories. So that's good coaching and coaching awareness when you lose as much as you do. You're going to have to do something. You can't rely on, logo threes anymore. So good early stuff here, or very early in the season.
Yeah, I do think, though, you're going to get those people that are going to try to compare this to Lisa Bluter. It's not. It's over. The era is over. You got to look at it through a different lens and understand that this is a whole different team. And they are going to find their own ways to win and lose games. And I think it'll be, I think you just need to, you know, keep your eyes open, be optimistic, and understand that it's going to be different this year. But I think there's a lot of hopeful things to look towards too, especially with the way this young team plays, and see how they evolve over the season and see where they go from here.
Cory, couldn't said it any better, and we appreciate you being here. And I know you waited on. Whoa, my microphone's going nuts. Appreciate you being here. I know you waited on hold for a while. Please be safe at work. And yeah, I think it's going to be I think both these teams are tournament teams. I know it's too early to call either one. The men haven't been all that impressive, but
Yeah.
I think teams, and I think we're going to see a different level of defense, at least from the women. Maybe not the men, but from the women. And this will be a big test, biggest test of the season coming up this Sunday in the Knapp Center.
I say, I'm curious from your perspective, who do you think will be that player off the bench at the end of the season that is not being named right now, that you look back and go, that was a huge key, kind of like a Falter last year, that comes off the bench and gives Iowa those much needed buckets or time or rebounds or whatever towards the end of the season. You look back and go, that was the sixth player off the bench that really propelled this team to be not just good but great.
Well, it may not be one. I think when you said, well,
Two.
either points,
Oh.
rebounding, I think it may
whatever
be
it is.
categories. I think obviously Taylor McCabe's got to come off the bench and hit threes. That's her big job. I think Taylor Strimlow has an opportunity to be kind of a Swiss Army knife for this team. So I think as she progresses through her season, and then I still have high hopes for Aaliyah Guyton once she's back to give them an extra gear, not just ball handling, but athleticism. So you hope she's good to go after that knee injury and that recovery. I know it's been a long haul for Aaliyah, but yeah, I think it may be a combination of those three. And as Jan has said during her media availability, you just want Ava Hayden to continue to come along, Tegan Mullaney to continue to come along. A lot of where Iowa goes this year will be dependent on how quickly the freshmen learn and grow. And that's different for every class and every person. But I think they have a good group of staff in there to figure this out together with them. And we're already seeing some early maturation, so that's positive.
Yeah, I think Strumlow is going to be that player that is just gritty, and she's going to get you those much needed, like I would say, effort plays down the stretches of some games that could come to Iowa's aid in certain games down the stretch, which will be exciting to see.
Oh, absolutely. No, and frankly, I mean, we talk about 3-point shooting. No other threes made besides Taylor's tonight. Well, Tegan showed in the exhibition, and she showed in her high school film that she can fill it up, and so her threes are going to be needed as well, not just Taylor's. And so I mean, we'll see. I mean, if they can keep winning, even if it's not pretty. And then, frankly, I thought Sunday, they didn't make a lot of threes, but I didn't think it was an ugly win. I thought they thoroughly eliminated the Hokies. So
they did exactly what they needed to do over the last two games. Absolutely. I think they played exactly how I think it's a new look Iowa, but I think they're going to find their own ways to win ball games.
No,
and I'm not too worried, but the next few games will be telling.
No, I totally agree with you, and it's from here on out, it's pedal to the metal. It's not like the men's schedule. We talked about it earlier, but they got a lot of tough tests, tough road trips, neutral site games. Still a ton of neutral. I mean, they go to Brooklyn, they go to Cancun, they go to Sioux Falls, and then the road test this weekend. They get Iowa State, who's loaded at home. Man, it's crazy. But hey, it's what we signed up for, right? I guess.
That's right.
So.
Hey, I'll tell you what. I got my men's tickets so far, so I will see them in January. But I am also excited to see if I can get myself a pair of women's tickets to go see them at least once. So, go Hawks, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, Cory. Appreciate it. Be safe. Appreciate Cory calling in. And let's go to our final caller of the night, and we'll go to the other Cory. You've recovered from, as Amanda said here earlier, the Cory apocalypse. So welcome, Cory. Appreciate you being here.
Okay. I was going to make this quick, but because of Commander Cody's comment, I'm going to take my time.
What did Commander Cody say?
He said Good. We got rid of Cory, the second
You did?
Cory Quicks or something.
No, he just said you were gone quick. He just said
Okay.
you were gone quick. You were on there and then you were gone.
Okay. So
Why is everybody a Cory or a Cody? I don't understand that. But anyways, go ahead.
it's getting populated here. First off, I'm calling for everyone to cancel your show because you are fake news. You said there was tickets. There's no tickets.
There were tickets. Ask Tony. There were tickets when I said it. Tony saw
You're,
them.
you're
And I'm telling
calling.
you, people bought them when I said
You're
saying
calling.
Tony saw the tickets.
You're stating the game is November 13th against Drake. It's
I
November
didn't
7th.
say that. It was on the banner wrong, and I corrected it. It's on the banner correctly now. It's the 17th.
You stated a Hawkeye football score wrong. You are fake news.
I am
Okay.
fake news. That'll be the new slogan. How's that?
That's the new hate slogan for Cory Brada. Okay, so I really meant to come after you and Kashin, but she's being a bit of a coward tonight, and I'm not real happy with that.
She's playing volleyball, Cory. She's got her volleyball league winding down. So
nice. Okay,
so,
well, good.
yeah. Listen, and that's what I said about Gary the other night. People are like, "Where's Gary?" Well, he's got a Final Four reunion this weekend, and Kashin's got volleyball tonight. So Kashin's going to be back with us. Gary's going to be back with us very soon. So, I mean, I can handle the Southerns and the Commerces of the world and the Northern Illinois of the world. I can handle those post games without them. So no big deal.
But when we get to Drake, it could get kind of hectic here. So we need some support.
Yep, we may.
Okay, so I think that you and Kashin were hating on Addie and on Taylor McCabe.
Okay.
And I want to back publicly. I think Taylor McCabe, her role, she's a designated hitter. And I think bring her in. And if she's hot, you keep her in for a while. If she's not, you pull her out after 2 misses. I think that what was done tonight is perfect for her. But I want to touch on Addie O'Grady. I think that she's enhancing this offense. Probably the best post passer we've had in years. I don't recall Monica Sonano. I don't recall Megan Gustafson making passes like what we witnessed tonight. And I think this could be just the birth of a really new facet of Iowa post play. The way this offense sets up, now the thing is our posts aren't getting as low. And so it's more difficult for them to turn and score. But it makes it easier for them to make a post pass to a cutter. So it's an interesting dynamic. That was going to be one of my negative points, though. Back in the good old days with Monica Sonano, it was about her getting position low enough, her getting down low enough in the post where she could turn and score. She never dribbled more than 2 dribbles an entire season. And so that's an interesting dynamic. It's you're losing on the, turn on the insta bucket, Iowa low post play. You're gaining on the higher post positioning with the pass to the cutter. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic to see how that plays out. I don't know if you noticed a difference in that, but it just seems like we're not getting as low.
Addison is just not. What's the word? Addison's not as athletic, and I don't think she's as agile. Maybe that's the best. It's like, and she's bigger. It's harder to get low when you're big. Ask Kirk Ferentz with Hayden Large. It's hard when you're tall to get low. And she's not the most agile player in the world. She's a little bigger than Monica was. height wise. So I think that's the easiest way to explain that.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this: I'm with the previous Cory. I think that Miss Strumlow is Sydney Jr. I hope that she develops and takes on that six person player of the year candidate role, because that could be huge. But it's so striking. I've never seen freshmen that that aren't scared. Now, this isn't the big stage. Let's see what happens at Drake. Let's see what happens in the Big Ten play. But so far, if we can get these freshmen to carry this confidence into the Big Ten season, and for the first couple of games, continue to gain confidence, I feel like this team passes the ball better than our previous teams in recent years as a team, as far as passes into the low post and making passes that are, generating assists. Yeah, we whipped it around the perimeter with Caitlin Clark, but really most of the time the passes that were going into the posts were coming from Caitlin, and the teammates weren't playing a major role in that. Seems like they're working on that pass into the post with everybody, and it's showing. Just far better passing into the post, in my opinion. I want to give a shout out to our man Tony for discovering Massey. I will be doing some research on that. That's interesting. But last thing I'll say is, does anybody know? Are we gonna Zach Johnson? Where are you, Zach Johnson? Are you gonna show up at the Drake Iowa game? Are you gonna?
No.
Is Zach Johnson gonna show up? Okay. Caitlin supported golf. Okay. Caitlin went to the tournament and did the celebrity pro-am. So Zach Johnson, I'm challenging you as a fellow Cedar Rapidian, Marion, but it's a sister city.
Yep.
Zach Johnson, I expect to see you at the Drake Iowa game. Show yourself and be an active participant. Lastly, shout out Hannah Stolke, 9 for 9. Okay.
9 for 9.
Okay, Cory, there's a theme here. We had a 9 for 9 in the previous game.
Okay.
Addie O'Grady went 9 for 9 from the field.
Yep.
So what's going to happen at Drake? Who's going 9 for 9?
Taylor McCabe's going to go 9 for 9 from 3.
Now you can't do that because now you're a turncoat. You were hating on her.
She's going to go 9 for 9 from 3. No, I was never hating on her. She's going to go 9 for 9 from 3. You just said earlier in your comments, you said if she's not making threes, she should go to the bench. You said it earlier. That's all.
No, I just said if she misses 2, you pull her.
Yeah.
And you use her like a DH, then you put her back in.
Not like you don't just set somebody forever, of course. Yeah.
But so you are you calling this? This is your bold take.
Yeah, that's my bold take. Taylor McCabe's going 9 of 9 from 3. Yep.
Okay.
There's my bold take.
I'm placing my bet in Vegas. So
all right. You have ESPN. You got ESPN Plus, Cory?
I'm gonna have to maybe buck up for it because I don't want to miss this game.
Yeah, you don't want to miss this game.
I'm stuck up here in Michigan, so
yeah.
I really I just want to thank Kyle Huseman, the guest. I find that invaluable to get some of this these takes on the recruiting trail. That's fantastic. As a fan and as a fanatic of Iowa women's basketball, that was great to hear some of the inside, information that I don't have normal exposure to. So I'll end it with that. And
Hey, Cory.
Lemansky, where are you, Lemansky? Come on,
Lemansky
man.
doesn't show his face too often for. I guess he does, but it's been a while, so we'll have to get Lemansky on here.
We miss him. And Kashin, I miss you. I wanted to come after you for Taylor McCabe past comments and for.
All right. She'll be here Sunday. She'll be here Sunday evening.
I'm challenging you guys on this Addie O'Grady, where she has a ceiling. I think the sky's the limit for Addie O'Grady.
Sky's the limit, according to.
I'm betting on O'Grady.
All right, you bet on her. I'm fine with that.
All right,
Cory, appreciate your
Hey,
time, sir. Go Hawks.
Support the Swarm. Go Hawks, and hit the like button.
Appreciate it, sir. Have a great evening. As Cory says in the chat, Hawks by 1 million. Yes, the Hawkeyes defeating Toledo, not by 1 million, but close. 94-57 behind a balanced effort from a number of different Hawkeyes. Really, second straight real balanced effort and a strong performance from the Iowa bench. 37 points off that Hawkeye bench. The Iowa women will be back on the court at Drake on Sunday. Big-time game in the Knapp Center down in Des Moines. 2 p.m. Central Time. It'll be televised on ESPN+. Well, post-game coverage, it'll be belated post-game coverage. So we may have an evening show. We'll give you details on that. Be sure you're subscribed. Hit that like button, folks. And it's easy to hit the bell for notifications so you know when we're going live. You can also follow me on Instagram, at From the Hawkeye on Instagram, From the Hawkeye of the Storm on Facebook, also at From the Hawkeye on X. And if you're interested in supporting the show by means of donations, Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, all in our description. And if you're interested in sponsoring, we're actively looking for sponsors for our Iowa women's basketball coverage. Slots open right now. Email me, info@fromthehawkeyeofthestorm.com, or if you have a local business or a business of any sort that you think would be a great fit, great match, let them know, hey, you got a great platform over here from the Hawkeye of the Storm covering this team. Again, email me, info@fromthehawkeyeofthestorm. I will be back tomorrow with content as always, and we'll be back for post-game coverage following the men's game against Wazoo Friday night, the women on Sunday. Have a great evening, folks. Be safe, and we'll talk to you soon.